Well, hello again. I thought that since I've already put out two videos of me using the Coyote, I thought it was time to go ahead and do a review on it. Now, I didn't want to just, blatantly just go out and do a review on this tractor, and I hadn't, used it or kind of put it through some paces. Again, I've only had it since December 28th, and so a little over 2 months that I've owned this tractor. So, but you know, when I first got it, of course, you think everything is awesome and incredible, and and then you start seeing stuff that you do like, things that you don't like. So I definitely wanted to, give it a couple of months, and then what I'll plan on doing is a like a 1 year review and seeing, if there's any changes in my opinion. But just wanted to kind of do a review of the tractor. I know when I was doing some research for the Coyotes, the newer version, the CK4020, there really isn't that many reviews out there. So there was a lot for the CK4010, the CK3510, and of course the CK2610, and of course all those, the CK26 26 horsepower, the CK35 35 horsepower, and this is 40 horsepower. Uh, so Now, I'm not here to jump on the Coyote bandwagon or anything like that. I did own a John Deere 1025R and bought it brand new, and I had it for about a year and a half, and it worked great. I have nothing bad to say about John Deere or Kubota or any of those other brands out there. But the John Deere that I bought, it just didn't work for me, just because of all the land that I own and everything that I want to do. It just wasn't a big enough tractor to be able to handle some of the things I like to do around here. As you saw, I believe in the grapple video, which I plan on doing more videos, using that grapple, because I think that is the coolest freaking tool that I own, besides the flail mower. But again, like the flail mower, you can buy a flail mower for that 1025R, but it's only, they only recommend you use like a 48 inch, and that's if you're going to cut a little bit heavy brush. You can go to a 60 inch, but they suggest that's just light grass, weeds, stuff like that, because it just doesn't have enough power, not only in the engine but the PTO. And that's where you find that having a larger tractor, with a higher PTO output, that's what really matters. So let's get into doing the review. Now this is a CK 4020 SE HST. The SE stands for Special Edition, and the of course HST is hydrostatic transmission. Um, I'll go over some specs. I have to have my little bit of a cheat sheet here, but the overall length of the tractor, that's from the 3 point hitch out to the front of the tractor, that doesn't include the loader, is 121 inches. And the width, which is in outside tire to outside tire of your biggest tires, that's 54.5 inches. The overall height, that's with the ROPS completely straight up, is 92.9 inches. The ground clearance that we have, below the tractor is 13.4 inches. And the total weight, and this is with ag tires, is 2,921 pounds. Now, speaking of tires, I have the R14s on the front and the back. And the reason why I went with the R14s is because I am working out in the woods, and they're kind of like a hybrid tire between the R4s and ag tires. So on my John Deere 1025R, I had the R4s, and they were very good for working on the grass back here in the lawn, and doing some work out in the woods. But uh, when I'm doing some heavy work with, especially like the flail mower or anything like that, I want a little bit more traction, so the tires aren't slipping as bad. Also, the both the rear tires are filled with ballast, and I believe by adding ballast to both rear tires, now don't quote me, I can't exactly remember, but I believe that adds another 400 pounds to the rear end here. Uh, so that helps with, I think, I mentioned something about having ballast in the tires when I was moving those railroad ties. And by having that extra weight in the rear, it helps from the tractor tipping forward, and which, just moving two railroad ties, it probably wasn't a big issue. So that part I didn't worry about too much. But like if I'm using the grapple and I'm moving, heavy logs and all that, I will actually attach my flail mower on the back, because that I believe weighs, I believe, in 500 pounds or pretty close to it. So, between the ballast fluid in the rear tires, and then I add the flail mower to the 3-point hitch, that adds, over 900 pounds to the back here, so that when I am using that grapple, it's not going to, tilt forward and, be off balance, because your front tires are your balance point, between the front and the back. So you kind of want to make sure that, you have weight on the back here, so, you're not going to tip forward. Let's see. The engine is a 3-cylinder engine, of course, diesel, and with the gross power of 39.6 horsepower. Now, the reason why I went with a bigger engine is just because, again, I want to be able to do a lot more work, with this tractor. The 1025R, I believe the max output was like 24.8 or something like that. And so, and then what that all translates into, where you get your power, that to me means the most, is in the rear PTO. The rear PTO on the 1025R, I believe the max was right around 17 horsepower, whereas with the max on the Kioti here is 33.5. And so that's, a big reason also that I went with a larger tractor. Uh, my neighbor that lives right across the road, he's got some farm implements that I'm able to use, and he also has like a 6-foot brush hog. So if I wanted to use a brush hog, I can use it now with this tractor here. With the John Deere that I had, again, it wasn't big enough. That brush hog would have just, moved that tractor all over the place, wouldn't have had enough power to really generate, the blades. It would have probably worked, but I think if I'd have gotten into any type of heavy grasses or weeds or anything like that, it probably would have bogged it down. So that is something you don't want to do. I'm in the operator seat, and just kind of want to go over, you know, what comes with the CK4020 SE. There are uh, options on here that are standard when you get the SE model. If you just go with, the standard CK40 20, then you're not going to have a lot of these options that come with it. So, um, a big thing that, you know, some people might ask, why didn't I get a cab? My biggest reason is I do most of my work out in the woods, and I don't think that it would have been beneficial for me to, try to drive around in the woods and, get the cab all scratched up, possibly bust a window out, because there's limbs and all that. If I was just doing, open field work or anything like that, I think that a cab is awesome, especially here in the South. Uh, during the summertime, with all the mosquitoes, the ticks, and not to mention the heat and humidity, I would definitely enjoy having all the air conditioning. But at the same time, I just didn't think it would uh, be worth the extra money, and more than likely, I'd just scratch it up and bust out the glass, and so I didn't want to even think about with that. So, anyways, let's kind of get into the operator station here, and we'll go over some of those things. Do my best here to show you as much as I can, but of course, there's going to be some reflections and stuff like that. But in your dash, you're going to have your tachometer, your temp gauge, and of course, the fuel gauge over here. Now, in the bottom here, you'll have all your displays of your lights for when it's in park, and your turn signals are up here. uh, I'd have to go through the catalog to say which exactly what's in the dash, but your hours will show up. I'm just going to turn it on real quick, and you kind of see how many lights will display up. But your hours will show up down here, and as you can see, mine has 11.5. So I haven't put a whole lot on the tractor yet, but hopefully, when the weather starts cooperating, I can start using a lot more. Over here on the right side, of course, you have your throttle. Uh, you got your slow or turtle, and then as you, of course, increase that, that'll increase your RPMs. Here is for your regen. So let's say if you want to throw it into a regen, you just press down on that button, and let's say it kicks on and you really don't want to have a regen going, and you just press that down, and that will cancel it out. But more likely, when you start your tractor up again, not too long after that, it'll probably go into a regen. Now, from what I've heard, is that if you're using your tractor and it goes into a regen, you can just keep on working, like you want to. And if you have the time and you're not going to be working, just park it, let it go through its regen, and it should finish up. From what I've heard, it takes about 15 minutes or something like that. But I haven't experienced it yet because, again, I only have a little over 11 hours on it, and I think they said it kicks in at like 30. But here, of course, is your hazard lights. Down here is for your parking brake. To engage that, you have to press down on your brake here and lift it up, and then lift off your pedal, and it will engage. Of course, this is a hydrostatic transmission style tractor. So pedal this for forward, of course, this for reverse. Uh, this is pretty much the same layout as the John Deere, except my brake here was on the left hand side. So that was something that I'm trying to get used to, because I used to be able to work, my foot here for the accelerator and reverse, and then use my left foot for my brake pad. But uh, now I have to use my foot for all three. And so it's taken me a little bit to get used to that. Here, which is standard on the SE model, is you have your tilt steering handle. So this blue handle here, you just pull up on it, and that will allow you to loosen that. And then, of course, then you can adjust your tilt steering there. Now, this is probably one of my, well, I wouldn't say one of my favorite, because there's actually quite a few things I like on this tractor. But this lever here is what they call a pedal link. So think of this when it's engaged, that's engaged. Then you can think of your accelerator and your reverse. But when you're driving it, you press down on this, and you don't even have to touch your throttle. It'll automatically throttle up and speed up like you would in any type of vehicle, like your car. So what's nice about that is if you're just driving it around or whatever, and you're not really putting a load, and you're not needing a lot of hydraulic draw to work the loader, or if you're working implement on the back, then I'll use my pedal link here. Because again, like I said, it's almost like using an accelerator on a vehicle, and you don't even have to touch your uh, throttle knob here. Okay, this is your turn signals. Of course, you know, left, right. Your lights has a horn. Uh, Another thing that I really liked that was included with the SE model. Of course, this has cruise control, which I'm not sure how much I'll use the cruise control, but it does come standard with the SE model. But this right here is something that I think is really cool. This is connected to your PTO control. So when you engage your PTO and you put it in auto, when you uh, pull up on your 3 point, let's say you're doing, you know, some flail mowing or you're tilling or whatever, and you get to the end of your row, you pull up on your 3 point, and as you pull up on that, your PTO will shut off. But then as soon as you re-engage and lower your 3 point, your PTO will kick back on. So you don't have to sit here, because this is how you turn the PTO on and off. So once you turn it on and you have this button on auto, your PTO will come on and off and you don't have to worry about it. Now, if you don't want that feature, of course, just put it in manual and it'll work the same. It's just when you raise and lower your 3 point, it'll just, your PTO will just keep on going. Working over here to the left side is your gears. This has a low, medium, and high. So you have 3 ranges for your tractor. On my 1025R, all I had was low and high. Of course, they say, you know, low is, you use low when you're um, doing, you know, heavy work, you're doing load work. Medium is when you're doing maintenance, you know, you're cutting your grass and, or, you know, putting seed out or, you know, fertilizing or anything like that. And then H, they say, is for highway. So I very seldom use my high, just because I'm basically just around the property. So I'm either in low or medium range. Back here is, of course, got a place you can put your cell phone or whatever you want to hold. Down here is also another storage area. I don't think it's big enough to put a cup in, but another area, you know, you can put your cell phone or whatever you want to do. Working over here to the right side, again, like I said before, this is your PTO control. So you just push it down, turn to the right, and that will engage your PTO. Kind of showed you this is your for your 3 point in the back. And what's nice about this is that it has a stop. So you unscrew this and then you can slide it up and lock it down to wherever you want your 3 point to stop at. And what's nice about that, let's say that comes in handy, you know, for anything that you're using on your rear PTO attachment and you want to have to make a turn and you pull it up and you want to get right back to that same depth. So that would be good for, let's say you're grading your driveway, you are tilling for, you know, a food plot, you're using a mower, you know, that way you're getting right back to the same height when you made your turn. So that's a neat feature. I can't remember if the standard models come out with this, but I believe uh, this is standard with the SE model. Working on us on this side, and this is another reason why I really went with the SE model, is that these are your controls for your dual remotes that you have on the back of the tractor. And the one on the left is where it has detents on it. So if you push it forward, it'll stay. And basically, that's the only thing that comes to mind right offhand that I would see, you know, be used for is like a log splitter. That way you have that continuous flow of hydraulic fluid just, cycling through. And then, same, you can do it in reverse. Uh, so I'm not sure how often I'll use this one just because I don't have a log splitter. You could also use that for if you have a side tilt uh, for your rear, 3-point, um, which I don't have. This is another rear remote, and it just springs back. So that would say extend hydraulic top link. You extend it, you let go, it goes back to neutral. You push back, and same thing, it'll go back to neutral. So this doesn't stay where it's continuously flowing. It only draws on demand when you're pushing forward or backward. Now, the joystick here, this will show you, of course, you push forward and it will have the loader arms go down. You pull back and it'll have the loader arms raise up. Right, it'll curl the bucket up, and you go, or left, you curl the bucket up. You go right, it'll curl the bucket down. Now, it does have a float mode, so you can push this forward, and then if you push it forward one more time, it'll lock into a float mode. And what's nice about that is if you're, back dragging dirt or gravel or anything like that, that way it's kind of in a float mode for you. If you notice these two buttons here, these are for your third function controls. And I'll show you those in just a minute, because I did have a third function added to the tractor. And when I was using the grapple, this is how I was able to open and close the jaws. So that was something that they came up with for the CK20 series model, is having the standard on your joystick. So that was a neat feature that they added. This blue button here, you lift this up and that locks the joystick. And that's basically like a safety device. So let's say you have your loader's arms up high, and like with me, I have 2 small children, and that way if I'm, let's say, working, on the engine or whatever, and I just raise the loader arms a little bit just so I can have better access, I can come in here, lock it, and that way if they come and they bump it like this, it's not going to have the loader arms go down. And then of course to disengage it, you just press down. This pedal here, this would be where your left heel could engage this. This is your rear lock differential. So let's say, you get into some mud or whatever, and your one tire is slipping and your other one isn't. You just press down on that, and that will lock the wheels, and that way they'll both engage at the same time. This here is how you get it into 4-wheel drive. I would say majority of the time I do 2-wheel drive, except for when I'm doing some work with using the front loader. I will a piece of grass there. I'll put it in 4-wheel drive just so I have better traction with it. And to engage that, biggest thing to make sure is that you put it in neutral first, engage your 4-wheel drive, and then put it into, more likely you're going to put it into low when you're using 4-wheel drive. Again, I only use pretty much 4-wheel drive when I'm doing loader work. This knob here is for your how fast or how slow your 3-point links in the back go down. So let's say if you have something really heavy in the back, you don't want to have it where as soon as you start moving your control arm for your 3-point links in the back, that it's going to slam into the ground. Good example, using my flail mower. When I lower it, I want it to slowly lower to the ground. So if you want it to go slow, you just spin it to the right. And if it's, I want it to go a little bit faster, then I can just spin it to the left. It has of course, rabbit and turtle on here to signify fast and slow. Moving on to the seat, of course, this lever here can have you slide the seat forward and backward, of course. And what's nice with this is that it has where you can adjust the firmness of your seat. So if you want a little bit firmer ride, especially with me, I know when I'm working out in the woods and I'm going over roots and uh, bumps and all that, I kind of firm it up a little bit so that way I'm not bouncing up and down, because if it's too soft, you're just going to bounce up and down all day long. And so with this, you just, turn it to which way, to firm it up, or if you want a little bit, softer ride, then you can, loosen it up. But that is a neat uh, add-on that I didn't have on my 1025R. So I really like that. Another feature that comes standard is armrest. And I know that when I'm uh, especially doing loader work, the armrest on the right side is perfect to have my arm on that, and I can put my hand on the joystick. So I'm not sitting there, with my arm stretched out trying to, do that loader work, especially if I'm out there for a couple hours. And so it works really well. So as I'm sitting there, I can just reach, grab a hold of that. The controls and the layouts of this tractor are very nice. And most tractors, uh, you know, they're going to build it and set it up. That's going to work the best for you. But as for me, I like the way this layout is, uh, as I call it, the operator station. Working our way to the back here. I will get some close-up views for you. But back here, of course, you have your PTO shaft. I still have the cover on mine. I just kind of keep mine covered when I'm not using it, just because I do put grease on there, um, and I don't want, if I'm not using the flail mower at the time, I'll put the cover back on, because all that is going to do is attract dirt and everything when I'm out working and not using the flail mower. So I do keep mine covered up, and it has a PTO shield. So of course, when you hook up a drive shaft to work, whatever implement that you have on the back, once you connect it, definitely put that shaft back down. Here's the uh, three links here. What's nice with this one is that the rear links here are telescoping, sorry, arms. So let's say you back up and you want to, uh, you know, just make it a little bit easier to connect to your 3-point hitch or a 3-point connection. Then, you can use your telescoping arms, both sides. Also, what's nice is you have these pin selections so that you can, uh, narrow your 3-point, or you can widen it. And I know, to me, I like that better than having, the turnbuckles here in the back. It just makes it simpler and user friendly, I believe. Um, and so I like that. It has a drawbar on it, and the drawbar, they say the weight here is up to, I think it can hold or handle over 1,400 pounds. And this is standard that comes with the tractor. So you have a drawbar that comes with it, and the tractor itself and the drawbar can pull, I believe it was 6,600 pounds. So if you have a trailer and you load it down, uh, it should not have any problem um, pulling, up to 6,600 pounds. Uh, Now, one feature that I did add, and this is the reason why I really like that it comes with dual remotes on the back, is that I believe actually I got this before my tractor was even delivered, and it's a hydraulic top link. And what the reason why I got that was, so if I'm doing work to grade my driveway, using the box blade, instead of hopping on, hopping off the tractor and turning that top link to get the right angle that I want, to, drag, uh, I just push that blue lever that's in the operator center, and if you push it forward, it'll draw the top link in. You push it backwards, it'll push it out. Uh, so far, mainly what I've used it for is when I use my flail mower, because I want to make sure I'm getting the right angle for when I'm engaging that flail mower. I don't want to be, super aggressive where, it's going to be angled down, because then more likely my blades are going to be hitting into the ground. So I usually will tilt mine back, a little bit. And if I'll go over it once and I notice that, hey, I want to cut it a little bit lower, then I'll just bring it in, bring it down a little bit more, and go again. Uh, I'm more of the, I'm going to take my time, make sure that, I'm not going to mess anything up. And especially with the blades, those hammer blades, I don't want to be hitting rocks or, big stumps or anything like that, because I don't want to have to start replacing those. So let me get in here and I'll give you a close up of some of the items that I just discussed. Grab the camera here and brought it down. So as I said before, this is the telescoping uh, link. So you just press down on this. And it's kind of hard for me to do it with just one hand because I'm holding the camera. You press down on this, and these will actually extend out on, of course, both sides. Here's the drawbar. And, this is big enough. You can put a 2-inch ball, on the end of this. So if you need to pull, a small trailer around or anything that has a 2-inch ball, I know like my wood chipper uses a 2-inch ball. So I can just use this here and pull my wood chipper around. Here's a close-up of those pin system here for adjusting the width of your 3-point links. Again, those are on both sides. So it makes it very easy to make adjustments for your 3-point links. Again, here's the PTO shaft with the cover on it. Here's the shield. And then here's your rear remotes. So this is the one that's on the left that has the detent. So like, again, only thing I can think of that I would use it for would be almost like a log splitter or something that just needs continuous hydraulic fluid flowing, constantly. Whereas this side, hydraulic fluid is only going to flow when you engage it, and then as soon as you're done engaging, you let off of it and it'll go back to neutral and it'll stop flowing, which comes into using the hydraulic top link. Again, this was something that I added on, and I really like it. I believe I got mine off of Amazon. It comes from Holland. I think that's the country it comes. So it actually came from Europe when I ordered it, and it comes with all the hoses and the fittings and everything. I didn't have to buy anything special to add this on. I would say though, if you do get a hydraulic top link, make sure you get one with a lock block. So this will, once you set, where you want your top link to extend to, and your lever goes back to neutral, this will lock it in place. It's not going to slowly, ease back down, because some hydraulic cylinders that don't have this, you extend this and then, it could be from vibration or just use, it'll just slowly start working its way back down. And that wouldn't be very good, especially if you're doing any type, again, tilling or mowing or anything like that. You want to try to keep the same level. Something that I kind of came up with, because this here actually held a arm that would hold your standard top link. Well, with this one, especially having this block on here, it would not work. So I went ahead and took the arm off, and I just took one of these bungee cord things that has the ball on it, and just wrapped it around there, and it seems to hold it up pretty good. Don't have any issues with it falling or nothing like that. Another thing, since I have the camera out, this is where you would check your hydraulic fluid. Uh, and of course, it has a dipstick and everything. So you just want to make sure you check that periodically, make sure that that is topped off and you have enough hydraulic fluid. I will say that was another reason why I think I went with a bigger tractor, is that when you have your RPMs up, I believe it's like 2,000 RPMs, that uh, your hydraulic capacity that it's flowing at is over 11. I believe it's like 11.7 gallons per minute, and that was something that was significant to especially if you're doing loader work, or uh, you're using something that demands hydraulic fluid. And so having that high capacity of flow is going to definitely uh, make it better and more efficient. The fuel tank is here on the back, which I like. Uh, I know I definitely can't stand a fuel tank where it's in the hood. I remember my grandfather's tractors. Every one of his fuel tanks was in the hood, and you try to put fuel in it, and half the time you get fuel, you know, flowing over the hood. And my John Deere, it had the fuel tank in the back fender here, and of course that tractor sat a lot lower to the ground, so it just felt like I was down here putting fuel. Whereas with this, it's you know right below chest level. It's between my waistline and up to my chest, somewhere in that area. And this holds 9 gallons of diesel. Again, we have the ROPS. I keep mine just kind of angled down a little bit. If when they're full extended, I can still fit into my shop, but I just I just keep them angled back for right now. Now, if I get out in the woods and I'm going to be in an area where the ground is really uneven and all that, then I will extend them straight up. It does come with a small toolbox. I just keep essentials in there that I might need. A crescent wrench, screwdrivers, straight flats. Um, we'll talk about that another day. Yeah, screwdriver, crescent wrench. Here's some pins. For if I lose one in the woods, I want to make sure I have extras with me. I know a lot of people, they put floodlights and all that up on their ROPS. They'll put like those big high beam lights and everything. Well, I know with me, I don't work out in the woods usually after dark, so I just have these El Cheapo magnetic lights from Harbor Freight, and they're LED. And so if there is a reason why I'm out in the woods after dark, you know, um, I do have these as extra. The headlights on this tractor are standard LED, and that was also an upgrade from the CK10 series. Over on this side, we have a step. Uh, I do wish that there was a step on the other side, but it doesn't come with one. So let's go ahead and go to the other side. Pretty much I covered most of the stuff in the operator's station, but over here is all my hydraulic lines. This is all for the front loader arms, and so there are 4 lines for that. Of course, the 2 lines are for make it go up and down, and the other 2 lines are to make the bucket curl and dump. This here is for my third function that I had added on to the front. So I would highly suggest, if you have the possibility or think that you'll ever need a third function for the front, just go ahead and get it when you order your tractor. To me, it's worth just going ahead and getting it done, and it's will be included in your loan, and that way you don't have to go back afterwards. Because adding this third function here, I believe it was an extra, I want to say $1,200, but um, this way it's already done, and I don't have to take it back to the dealer or take it somewhere, or I don't even have to worry about trying to figure out how to put it on myself. Well, speaking of third function, here is where I would plug my lines in for pretty much right now. That all I use it for is my grapple. So it's mounted onto the front loader here, and so pretty simple. I keep mine covered when I'm not using them to keep all the dirt and dust and everything out of it. So again, I would highly suggest, if you possibly think that you're going to, have a reason to have a third function on the front, go ahead and get that while it's at the dealership. One thing that I do like about Kioti, and that they do, is that the majority of their hydraulic lines are hard lines. So as you can see, they're hard lines pretty much going all the way throughout. I don't know if you can see into here, but they're still hard lines. So if anything would dry rot, you just have these small lines here that you would have to replace. Um, so it's just mainly these small lines. Now, of course, my third function, those are added on. So, of course, those aren't going to be hard lines. But that's one thing I thought was a very neat feature on your tractor. And I believe all Kiotis, when they do their hydraulic lines, are all hard lines. Well, now that we're at the front here, I'll show you how we can get into the hood. You pull that pin, and you just pull it back. Now to open it, you just pull this lever that's down on the side, and the hood just all pops up. And that was something that I found that was more convenient than the John Deere, just because when I wanted to just check the filters or anything like that, the hood would pop up, but the sides were still on it. So if you wanted access to either side, you had to pull the side panels off. Whereas this, you just pull one lever and the whole hood pops up. So here is your main air filter, and back here is your radiator filter. Of course, your radiator is back here. It's cooling coils. Back here is your regen, which you should never have to even worry about getting into that. But everything pretty much has an easy access. I like where the battery is at. Um, the only thing you'd have to, take off would be your air filter canister there to get your battery out. Um, but if you needed, let's say, jump it or whatever, it's right there. Most tractors are, pretty much like below the steering column, and you have to take your whole column apart and take the cover off and everything just to be able to get to your battery. Working on the side here, this would be on the right side of the tractor if you're sitting in the seat. So here's your oil filter, and as you see, it's 12/28/23. That was the day of delivery for my tractor. So I went ahead and wrote that it had 1 hour on it when it was delivered. Here is the dipstick, so that's pretty easy access. The only thing that's a little difficult is your oil fill, and it's kind of hidden behind a couple of these wires and hoses and stuff. But if you use a funnel with a long rubber tube, you shouldn't have too much of a problem filling it back up. Here's the fuel filter. Of course, it has a glass sight on the bottom to let you see, if there's any water or anything that has separated from your diesel. When you go to, if you want to get the water out, drain it out, and then also if you change your fuel filter itself, at the top here, it has a priming button. And that's the only thing that might have a little hard time getting to is pressing down on that. But I'm sure if I'm standing up and just stick my arm straight in there, it would be a little bit easier. So, but yeah, if you change out your fuel filter, uh, you have to prime it by pressing this button down, and that will fill this filter back up with fuel. And then, of course, there's for your radiator level. Looks like mine is about almost full. It might be up at the full line. I might be on a little bit unlevel ground too. So I'm right here in the gravel driveway. But there's for your radiator fluid. That way you can keep an eye on, make sure you keep radiator fluid in it. Here's access to your belt. It's right here. And of course, you always want to make sure you have good tension on your belt. And I don't see anything really else on this side that you would need to access. Oh, forgot one thing. Here's your transaxle dipstick. So this is where you would fill your transaxle, of course, for your front wheels. And then when you go to change it, which I don't think it's till like maybe 400 hours, there's a bolt right here that you loosen up, let it drain out, and that's on each side. I don't know if I can, yep, right there you go. You just loosen that up, let the transaxle fluid drain out. But again, I believe that's at 400 hours, so I got a long way to go before that happens. This would be on the left-hand side if you're sitting in the operator station. And pretty much this is just there's your starter, alternator. Now, one thing that I have heard is here's your exhaust pipe. So I've heard that when your tractor goes into a regen, to raise up your loader arms, because this essentially gets super, super, super hot, and your hydraulic lines are right here. So I wouldn't, I don't think they would come into effect, but I've just heard from other people to go ahead and raise your loader arms to just, just be on the safe side of that way your hydraulic lines are, not getting heated up. Well, before I, move around to the other side here, again, this is the front side. And I think how they designed this front, if you look at the CK10 series, it has standard headlights. So these are LEDs now. That's standard. And I just think the look of it is really neat. I don't know. I just find it very appealing. It seems very streamlined. So I'm gonna put this back up, but I wanted to show that to you before I did this. All right, that's locked in. Now another design upgrade that they did that I found was better was where your zerks are at on your loader arm. Uh, from when I was starting to do some research on YouTube, of course, uh, and I was specifically looking at the CK models. Well, again, like I said earlier, there's very few reviews on the CK 20 series, and so most of them were on the CK10 series. And I heard quite a few times was that on the CK10 series is that where the Zerks were at, this plate here actually had a bolt that held that on. And a lot of guys were saying that, make sure you check that bolt periodically because it loosens up. And that was on, where all your Zerks were at. So on this side, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Zerks. And then if you go down to where your actual mount is for the front loader and all that, they actually have Zerks for, to engage your pins to, lock on your bucket or, whatever you're using for your front implement. So So there's zerks on that. So actually, just on this one side, there is 9 zerks that you have to grease, and just, and they're closed cylinders, so don't go pumping as much grease into there as you can. I usually do, and I do mine, about every 10 hours, and I'll just do, 2, maybe 3 squeezes. And I know that there's grease in there, but I don't want to see it, coming out the sides or squirting out, because, I'm not sure if there's some bushings in there or something that, I could, blow out or whatever. Again, I tend to fare on the careful side more than, being very aggressive. So, oh, this was something that uh, I didn't point out earlier when I was on the front. This is your level indicator. Uh, I don't use mine a whole lot, or I haven't used it a whole lot yet, just because I haven't had the need yet. I'm sure once I start um, doing mulch, because we're going to be doing a big project here in the back, uh, and we're going to be doing a lot of mulch and everything. So that's when I'll probably use that load indicator, just because, or the level indicator, just because I don't want to be digging into the ground and bringing dirt up. I just want, to try to get just as much mulch as I can. So, but I believe when I had my bucket on, and when I had it on level ground, the top of this was flush with the top of the orange cylinder here, and that made it level. Um, so I'm sure, again, once I start using it to, move dirt or move mulch or something, where I'm going to be digging into the ground, or I want to keep from digging into the ground, then I'll use that. As I review my notes here, were a couple things I did miss. Uh, on the 3-point hitch on the back, or the 3-point links, the total lift that you can have with your 3-point is 1,631 pounds, and that is only 24 inches from the back. So pretty much right where you would hook up your rear attachment, with your pins. The maximum lift at that point is basically 1,600 pounds. For the front loader, this is a KL4030C, and this is the standard loader that comes with all the CK. Doesn't matter if you get the 35, the 40, or the 25. You're going to get the KL4030C loader, and that's what's nice with the Kioti, is that even though you go down in horsepower, it's still going to put the same loader. Now, this loader here, in the book, it said it can lift at the pivot pins, which are down here, where your mount is 1,969 pounds. That's just your loader. That doesn't include a bucket, doesn't include, your load and all that kind of stuff. You have to start subtracting that stuff off. Because like with me, I have a 60-inch bucket on the front, and that bucket weighs 247 pounds. You can get a 66-inch bucket with it, and that's 260 pounds. So you would have to subtract 260 pounds from the 1,969 pounds, and that would be your lift capacity. So any type of fill dirt or anything like that. So like if I'm using the grapple, I have to take in consideration the weight of how much that grapple is. And so it definitely weighs more than what my bucket does. So it's not going to be able to go and say, all right, I can lift this, 1,800-pound tree log or a rock or anything like that, because it's having to lift the loader arms and it's having to lift the grapple itself. So you have to subtract all that stuff, and then that's what's going to be your max amount of lift. Uh, so, and with my 60-inch bucket, it has a bucket capacity of 7.1 cubic foot. So it can haul, quite a bit of dirt, mulch. That's pretty much what I use it for around here, is those two things. Of course, you can always find stuff to use your tractor for. I mean, you saw in my last video where I put my pallet fork attachments, and it was just moving railroad ties. I have blocks that we're going to be decorative blocks that we're going to be using to. Uh, Again, we got this big backyard project that we're going to be doing, and so we have these blocks on pallets, and so I'm going to be able to use the tractor, pick up those pallets, and move them around. But I believe I've covered most of it. Oh, one more thing. The full height of this front loader, how high it can get it up, is 98.4 inches. And so, it's pretty high. Not that I personally don't have a reason why I need to ever get my loader that high, but only thing I could think of is if you're loading into a trailer, or a smaller size dump truck, where you need to get that load up, and then you want to dump it over a wall or something. And that's the only reason that I can think of that you'd want your loader to be able to get to that height. At least for me, anyways. Other than that, I don't really see a reason that I would need that. Maybe if a tree is stuck or something, I'm using my grapple, and I just needed to really get my grapple up high to grab a hold of that and be able to pull on it. Other than that, I can't think of any other reason. So let me see. I think I covered everything on the tractor. Max speed, I don't think I said that, is in high. And of course, when you're in high, you're not doing any work. And they say the max speed is 15 miles per hour. So for me around here, I don't ever go fast. I don't even do that in my side by side. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review. Again, when I started doing research um, to get a bigger tractor, I mean, I went and I looked at the John Deeres. I went and looked at the Kubotas. Um, a buddy that I work with, he has a Kioti. He's had it for quite a few years now, and he's always, raved about it and how much he liked it. And so I went online, and of course, just go to YouTube, and everybody puts out videos and reviews and stuff like that. But what I was finding was that there wasn't not many reviews on the new CK20 series. And so that's the reason why, I wanted to put this out there. Anybody that's looking to get, a new tractor, a Kioti in the CK series, I would highly, say I like it. It's a good tractor. It's so far it's been everything I have expected it to do. But again, I'll definitely be putting it through more paces as time goes on. Um, I really want to get that stump bucket out and start removing some stumps, and that I think will definitely will put some work in and see how well this handles those stumps. Um, but I did want to. I don't think I covered it, but my kids, my kids and my wife, for Christmas this past year, because I had already ordered my tractor, and uh, so this was an accessory that they bought. This spin wheel that goes on your steering wheel. I tell you what, I use this all the time. I I've never had one. I didn't have one on my John Deere tractor, and at first I thought, well, it's kind of hokey, but I'll put it on there because they got it for me, and I use this all the time. I'm like, gosh, why didn't I get one of these before? So I think those were my two add-ons that I did personally, was the steering spinner here and my hydraulic top link. Also with the Kioti tractors, it does not come with a mid-mount mower in the CK series. I think if you get the CX, I think you can order one, um, but standard on all Coyotes, it doesn't come with a mid PTO. It only comes with a rear PTO. Now, they could be, changing up some stuff, and they might make that a standard at some point. But uh, as for me, with my flail mower, uh, when it comes time to start cutting my grass, I'll just change out my blades. I can take those hammer blades off and I can put Y blades on, and the Y blades I can use to cut my yard. And so I didn't see a need to get a mid mount mower or have a mid PTO, because again, I don't think this comes with a mid mount mower, or where you can use a mid mount mower. So I'd have to get like a finish mower for the rear PTO, or again, I'll just use my flail mower when it comes time to start cutting the grass. But again, I know I keep rambling on here, but again, I hope you enjoyed this review of the tractor. I'm going to try my best when I get around to next year. I'll do a 1 year review on it and let you know, how much I still like it, or if there have been any issues that I've had with it. Um, I'll definitely do that. And then also when I comes to, start doing my maintenance, again, it's the 50-hour maintenance is the first one, it's the big one, that you have to do from the get go. But after that, um, I think the next one is 100 hours, and then it goes 200 hours and 3 and 4. And it's all in your owner's manual. It's laid out pretty easy for you to follow. And so again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.